is Ben, bringing you some more Magic the Gathering Arena. I just did a sound check a minute ago to make sure that my levels were okay because I did a reinstall of my Streamlabs and my Logitech video capture software, and all of my levels were way off when I brought it back up, so hopefully this is all okay. Let me know if it's too high or too low, and of course I always go back and check it out as well, just to make sure that everything is on the level. So anyway, today we are going to be doing a little more brewing, a little more looking at different decks, and just kind of figuring out, you know, what works well in the realm of the black-red based beatdown that we've been playing for the last couple of weeks. With a couple of new decks and some iterations on old ones. So right now, I think we're going to start with this one. So this is a black-red aggro deck that I'm just calling RBx Beats for now. Pretty straightforward. You'll notice this is a lot like our Grixis deck that we've been playing, or the many iterations of the Grixis deck that we've been playing. Of course, there's no blue in this, and I'm going to touch on why I'm trying this one in a minute. But for now, we're just going to take a look at the cards here, do a little explanation, little deck tech. So, as you can see, we have a pretty aggressively slanted curve here. These 6s are actually 2s most of the time, the Bedeck, Bedazzle. And then these 4-drops are often being cast for 3, so we pretty much top out at 3 for the most part. Sometimes we're casting for 4, and on rare occasion we're casting this for 6. But we have 24 lands because we have no way of cycling through our deck whatsoever, and we want to be able to double spell pretty quickly. So down here we have a couple of extra 2-drops. Those being 2 Gutter Bones, which I've got on record before saying that I don't like Gutter Bones in Aristocrats, which I love Aristocrats, but I don't think Gutter Bones is that great there, and I've actually just started running 4 Knight of the Ebon Legion over any number of Gutter Bones, because while there's no synergy between them in that deck, Knight of the Ebon Legion is just so strong, and it feels like Gutter Bones is too slow and mana intensive for what that deck wants to do. But in this deck, where we want to apply a lot of pressure with undercosted creatures rather than playing the Aristocrats sacrifice for value game, I think it's pretty strong. I haven't done much testing with it, but the testing that I have done, it's been pretty impressive, so we're leaving it in there for now to have additional pressure on our early turns, or say like on turn 3 being able to blow something up with a burn spell and then cast a Gutter Bones. We have our 4 Dreadhorde Butcher. This is a really awkward card in Best of 1, but I think it's worth leaving in anyways because the ceiling on this card is just so insanely high. In Best of 3 I feel like it's a little better because you're always guaranteed to be on the play some number of games. Sometimes you win the coin flip and go right off the bat. Sometimes you will lose the coin flip. But either you win that game, either you win all of your games, or you lose at least one game and then you have at least one game on the play, and then when you're on the draw, if you are later, you can take it out of your deck if you feel like it's going to be too slow against what your opponent's doing. So in Best of 3, that's a good thing to remember. Keep in mind, I'm actually going to switch my sleeves here to the Liliana sleeves because this is a more black-centric deck. Obviously, there's no white in any of these, but I feel like for heavily black, I like the Liliana more. Same removal that we were using before, pretty much. A couple of Bedevils. We switched out a Bedevil for an Obnixilus's Cruelty in the other lists that we've been running because the Cruelty is much easier to cast, taking only 1 colored mana. And it can do things like kill an Adonto Vanguard, or it can keep a Cavalier from getting its death trigger because it doesn't die, it gets exiled. So those are all really relevant things. And most of the things that Bedevil can hit, Obs also can. And then also, it's much easier to cast, if you have 6 mana, to cast Chandra into Cruelty than Chandra into Bedevil, because you would need triple red and double black for this one. So this is a much easier mana cost for that. Pretty much just the all-stars we've been using in our other decks as the curve toppers. Legion Warboss for extra pressure, Rotting Regisaur as a big dumb beater. I've actually found that 3, I was using 2 before because I just wanted to try to minimize the number of times where we draw multiples of them that we can't get down because we would have to discard them, or where we draw them too early and we want to empty our hand and these are kind of just rotting in there. But I found that 3s actually, because we have such an aggressive curve, and most of our spells aren't super situational, like we can always throw this at someone's face, we are generally okay with the 3, in my experience so far. And then the Spawn of Mayhem, easy to trigger the Spectacle in this deck. We're pretty aggressive, or more aggressive in this deck than with the previous decks we've been playing, so it feels like it's pretty easy to not only get the spectacle, but also for the symmetrical damage element to work in our favor more often than not. Obviously, in this deck, the mana base is much better than the blue version. That's one of the major upsides of this over Grixis. We have lots of extra basic lands. We're shocking in a lot less. I mean, we have games in Grixis where we shock ourselves like down to 12 by the 4th turn of the game, which is great if you're going to play a Spawn of Mayhem and take advantage of that, but usually isn't what you want to be doing. And then pretty much the same stuff going on in the sideboard here. I have this Dreadhorde Invasion here that was just, again, didn't have anything else to put there. We do get Moment of Craving here, which helps us even more against the aggro decks, giving us the additional removal and some life gain, which we can recur with Chandra. And a little bit of extra exile here, just to keep, actually, I wonder if one of these Lava Coils should be another Ob Nixilis's Cruelty, because it's instant speed and hits more things, but for now, I'm going to keep the curve a little bit lower in the sideboard. So we'll leave it like that for now. We're just doing best of one right now anyways, so we can hit game after game after game, and just see how everything stands up. I'm going to adjust my levels a little here, because the game volume seems, I wonder if it's probably just that my headset volume is a little low. Okay, let's try that. I'll just make sure that it didn't also increase the gains. It looks like it did not. That's good. So I'll bring this back down. All right, and we will get to it. There's a couple other decks that oh, and actually, before I do that, speaking of the blue decks, so I really like Thought Erasure. It's a fantastic card, a format-defining card, run in tons of different decks, and I've actually been finding that I don't like it in the deck with the Grixis decks with lots of 2-drops. And so you might be asking, why is that? It's so powerful. It's good to have more cheap cards that can disrupt your opponent. And the reason for that is that I think in a deck like this one and like the Grixis decks we've been running, which are very beatdown oriented, I've found that I don't like taking off turn 2 or 2/3 of turn 3 to take away a card from my opponent's hand. The reason for that isn't because it's not a good thing to do. That's a very powerful effect. But I would rather deal with removal as they come and try to overload the opponent's removal rather than take it from their hand. And then we have a really powerful removal suite that we can use to deal with most threats that get resolved. The critical difference there is that while we can't do things like blow up an Experimental Frenzy with this deck, or rip out a Cavalier of Thorns before it hits the battlefield and gets its Enter the Battlefield trigger, and then its Death trigger usually, while that is all true, there's a really important element of discard that I haven't touched on before, and I'd like to just talk about for a moment now. And that is that discard is always a tempo negative play. That's not true. It's not always tempo negative play, but it is much more likely to be tempo negative than otherwise. The reason for that is that you are spending your mana, probably your entire turn, to take something from your opponent that they haven't spent anything on yet. So you are effectively spending 2 mana to not affect the board, and then the next turn your opponent can untap and spend that mana to advance their board state or to push your board state back. Whereas if we deal with things that they are casting at us, we are spending mana, and then they are spending mana. So if we play an additional threat, and they have to get rid of that additional threat instead of us Thought Erasuring them, that's okay, because, or that's better than us discarding that card, because that took their entire turn. If we discarded that card instead of putting down a threat, we would discard that card, still have nothing on the board, and then the opponent would have the next turn to advance their own board state, or like, play a Search for Azcanta, or something like that. So that is why I'm not running any discard here, except for in the sideboard. And, well, I mean, obviously we can't run Thought Erasure in these colors. That's part of the reason that we wouldn't have that. So yeah, just the fact that we want to keep our tempo high with this kind of deck is making me think that the Thought Erasures are things that I want in slightly more beatdown, or slightly more mid-range, slightly less beatdown versions of the deck, and I have 2 of those here that I want to try out, and might also shift Legion's Shadow in that direction as well. So, okay. With that out of the way, let's find some games. Gonna adjust my headset a little bit here. I'm going to getting a notification from Mob Crush here that I did not save the broadcast information, so let's do that. That is my simul streaming app so that I can do both, I can do multiple streaming platforms at the same time, which is super handy. One really nice thing about this deck is that we do a lot less mulliganing than in the Grixis versions because we have a little more consistency in terms of what our cards do, and also, of course, we have more consistency in our mana base. This is actually kind of a sketchy keep for us here because we have 3 3-drops, but we also have 3 lands and a 2-drop, which means that we'll have some good turns 3+, and also that most of the things that we could draw will look pretty good for us. A Mountain, however, is not one of those things. So this is unfortunate for us, but it's not the worst thing because Knight of the Ebon Legion actually doesn't do very much on turn 2. So, you know, it could be a lot better. They could have had no play on turn 1, but... Oh, well. This looks like the deck we just decided not to play. I'll give them the hello there as they peek at my thoughts. See what they decide to take. I'm going to guess it's Dreadhorde Butcher. That will leave us with no play on our next turn. And Dreadhorde Butcher can come down and... Well, I guess they can't, because they're on the play, they can pump Knight of the Ebon Legion next turn, so we can't actually wall their Knight with our Butcher. But that's the take anyways. I feel like that's a good call. We draw more lands. Now our opponent can start pumping their Knight, and we will regret everything. I do like getting beaten down by decks that I really enjoy, though. There's something kind of... Especially when it's a thing that I've been, you know, putting a lot of work into building and tuning and testing recently. It's fun to see people kind of coming to those same conclusions and seeing how they choose to pilot the decks. Okay, I think that... Well, I don't want to play this because they know about these ones. Always play the lands that they do know about, all else being equal. They can pump this guy to a 6. Rotting Regisaur will be able to trade with that. I think I'm okay with that. Well, that's going to really eat into our lands here. I think I'm just going to pass the turn. See what they do. They know about this Bedevil, so they probably will not pump Knight here, but if they do choose to do that, they will have spent most of their turn not really getting, you know, basically doing nothing. Just getting the Bedevil out of our hand. You can see how much better it would be if this were a cheaper removal spell here, and that's why we went down a little bit on the average CMC of our removal. So if they do not pump, I will just take the damage. I don't mind taking 2 here. And I would love to give them the chance to spend their mana doing very little this turn. Let me just thought erasure us. Okay, well they can't pump now. I think I have to take this guy off the board. They can take one of our... They can take one of our 2 threats. I imagine they take... Well, I guess it depends on what they're holding. If they take the War Boss, that means they're probably short on removal, because like a Shock or a Lightning Strike could be great against that, and that is what they take. So it could also be that they have a... Man, I did not like our position one bit here. I mean, I could drop the Chandra here and start plussing, but we don't really have any great spells in our graveyard right now. But, I mean, that kind of feels alright. Now that I think about it. We're not going to be pressuring them here. But hopefully we can start generating card advantage if we ever find another removal spell, at least. Or we can deflect some damage, you know, a burn spell or something towards Chandra because they have no board. Oh, okay. So they're actually on the mid-range version of this and will proceed to bash our face, and I imagine they take out our Chandra here because she's going to kill Nicol Bolas otherwise. I haven't seen much of this version of Grixis where they have both the Dragon God and the cheaper threats, but I think it's a really cool way of building the deck, so, I mean, more power to you. Alright, so we will drop Regisar and the Knight that we just top-decked, and then pass it over and see what happens. It potentially could be right to hold up mana to pump Knight here, but I don't really like that line. We're much weaker to spot removal at that point. I think I will exile this mountain because we're going to discard it anyways. So they did get a draw off of that, but effectively the exile portion was irrelevant. Oh, now they have a Kefnet. So that's pretty good for them. Well, I think we'll swing everything at Bolas. They can only block one. I'm actually going to put a stop here right now for when the discard trigger goes on the stack. Oh, they're actually blocking. I imagine this means they have a removal spell. Oh, huh. Did they not realize that we get Death Touch off this? Do they just really want to reshuffle their Kefnet? Yeah, they just didn't realize that we get Death Touch. If they had a Lightning Strike or something there, that would have been really nice, because we would have been forced to pump there to keep our Knight alive, and then they could... They had the 2 mana up there. They could have done that, no problem. They did shuffle the Kefnet back in, which seems pretty good, but no, Kefnet's a guy, I think. But Kefnet is a really good card advantage engine. Okay, so we have no target for the Bedeck Bedazzle. We'll resolve this. Goes away. If they'd played something there, that would have been cool, but as they did not, that's also fine. Okay, so if we pump our Knight of the Ebon Legion, we cannot also play Spawn of Mayhem even with the Spectacle cost, so we're just going to swing with no pumps, I believe. Spawn of Mayhem dodges Ritual of Soot, so we are not extending into a board wipe here as far as I can think. And hopefully they're just holding a bunch of 1-for-1 removal, and we'll be able to overwhelm them from this position, because they're on a very, very short clock. I mean, they're dead on board at the moment. Okay, so Bolas comes down, probably kills the Regisar, I imagine. Yep. So we will... just swing at their face, because we have lethal here, and we can pump and also play our Knight of the Ebon Legion. So that all seems good. There we go. Got it. So, misestimated what deck we were up against, because I haven't seen many people playing the Knight of the Ebon Legion in the more, the ones that top out with the huge planeswalkers for Grixis. But, yeah, just want to keep that stuff in mind for the future. And, we are here to learn, and it worked out just fine for us anyways. I am not a fan of this hand. We have turn 1 Knight, but that's it. We do have some draws to find red, but we have so many 3-drops here, 3 and 4 drops, and only 3 lands, so I think we throw that one back. This looks pretty good. The question is, what do I drop? I think I'm actually going to drop a Dreadhorde Butcher. Because the opponent's going first, the odds of our Butchers pulling a lot of weight here are lower. And also, playing Butcher on turn 3 is a lot lower value, especially when we are on the draw. I love these Signet card sleeves. There we go. Alright, they have a shock for it. That's fine. We're just going to run our Regisar out next turn, hope that they don't have removal for it. Alright, looks like they're on Just Guy Super Friends. Well, that's a really good answer to Regisar. So, prevent all damage that we dealt to and by target, permanent, and opponent controls. Well, I really wish that we were on the play here, so we could have both of these guys out the turn after they do this. But I think I'm actually playing this one first. Well, no, I have to play the Regisaur first, because I can only threaten with Knight of the Ebon Legion if I pump it, and if I pump it I can't play the Regisaur. Yep, so that's going to fog our Regisaur. And then I may just pay the 4 to Bedevil or Dovin. We'll see. See what they play. It's always the worst feeling when your opponent's playing a top-end heavy deck like this and they shock in like their 5th or 6th land and you just know you're getting crushed. Alright, so we'll see what we draw here. Bedeck Bedazzle is probably not very good against them. So yeah, I think that that's something that we're going to drop. Yeah, we will not attack because this guy has all of its damage fogged. So we'll just play this. Oh yeah, you know, that was actually a huge misplay before. I should have played the knight first because I was not going to pump with it because Dovin was going to turn off all the damage from it. So, oh good, and now they bounce, and we can't Bedevil in response because, well, one, it would cost too much, and also Teferi turns off our instance, or any instant speed interaction. But you know what we can do is we can pump this guy in defiance of their Teferi. And then this card probably doesn't really do anything. Getting a land would be nice. That's not a land, but it is also nice. So we can... oh, ugh. We don't have double red. Yuck. Well, we will play this. We will really wish that we'd drawn another source of red because Chandra would have let us kill Teferi and take Dovin down to 2, and then he would roll himself down to 1, and that would have been wonderful, but here we are, this very not greedy mana deck and only a single source of red. Oh, another Dovin. I wonder what he's going to do. Well, if we get another red, we can still kill off Teferi. I'm going to discard this because I just really... another swamp. I feel like we're pretty much locked out of this game. So, yeah, I'm just going to drop that and give him the good game. This is a very... this is just an unfortunate one on the, you know, we have 8 lands that only produce black and 16 that produce red. So drawing 4 and 1 respectively is just unfortunate for us. I don't think I've really had much in the way of mana trouble with this deck because it's just, even though there is no filtering and no thought erasures to scrub cards away from the top, it's pretty... it's not hard to put 2 of a given color together in a 2-color deck. Even one where you don't... if we had... oh man. You know, you say that it should be pretty easy and then you get hands like this. I mean, if they're playing a hand that's weak to Legion's End, then we're in really good shape, but... I think I'm actually going to put this swamp back because we can go Blood Crypt, Gutterbones, Blood Crypt, Gutterbones, Knight of the Ebon Legion. Actually, yeah, no, I think I will put a Gutterbones back. I really want Legion Morboss on 3, guaranteed. And if our opponent has like a Legion's End or something, then we just feel terrible about everything, so... I was talking in the previous stream about how I was finally on the play sometimes, and then as soon as I got off the stream, I was like 0 games on the play. So I guess I need to just stream more, because that is when we are blessed with the coin flip win. Tomic. So Jeskai Flyers, I would guess? Well, that's going to stop our token from getting in here. So I guess I'll just attack with the Knight of the Ebon Legion. If they want to sacrifice their Tomic to it, that's fine. Give the Gutterbones back. Thinking about it. I will not pump because I would much rather get Legion Warboss down and just... I mean, I could also kill one of their guys, but I think this is a higher value play. Drawing a lot of these 3 mana removal spells here, which we only have 3 of total. Be nice to draw some cheaper ones. Okay, well, that will take care of that. Alright, so we go to 10. We find another Legion Warboss, which can get damage in immediately this turn. I think I'm just going to send everyone in, because this is the... I think this is the fastest way that we can race. I'm not going to do the math on stream, and I would be wrong if I did anyways, because doing math on stream is a terrible idea. You should never do it. But this is enough to buff Knight and field additional power, and then hopefully put Tomic on the defense, and then... Ooh, there's an Empyrean Eagle. That's great for them. So I think that what I want to do is... Do I just swing with side and then blow up the Empyrean Eagle? Because they can only... No, I think I leave back the Legion Warboss, because I want that guy to stick around. We can pump and Bedevil next turn. I think that might actually be the play here. They're on the defensive now. I mean, obviously this token has to go in, but... If they want to double block here, I'm totally cool with that, because we'll be able to kill 2 of them since we have... Actually, yeah, we'll be able to kill everyone that blocks this guy because of the Death Touch. And if they don't block, then... Well, I imagine they're blocking because they held back here. Okay. Okay, so... yes, we want to order it that way. So we will lose our guy, but we will also kill 2 of theirs, and we have this Legion Warboss who's going to keep making things, and we also have a Bedevil in hand. Plus, we can play anything in our deck that we top deck. Well, that is incredibly rude. But, looks like that's going to be their turn. They might have land into 1-drop, I suppose, because they could have drawn either one of those things off of that. So, we will play this. That isn't actually, I mean, that could be, that's not good for us that they had that Teferi there, but it's one of the weaker answers to what we have. Actually, I guess I should just say that Legion Warboss is pretty good against that, because Legion Warboss can always just make another token. And while it may actually have been right to put another damage at them, I like getting rid of the Teferi there, because they are representing... Oh, this is actually a hero deck. I thought this was a Skies deck. Oh, okay. Well, there's another Teferi. So this Teferi is much better than the last one because they have a couple of guys here that they can block with. But I don't think... They want some token, actually. Well, what do you say we just... kill this Hero of Precinct 1 and every other Hero of Precinct 1 that they may have in their hand, which they do not. Ooh, they have a Lyra. That's gonna be a problem for us. So they can block 2 damage, so we deal 1, 2, 3, 4... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... or 5. They go to 3. And then we'll just have to hope that we can find a way of dealing with that Lyra. Yeah, I think that's right. We can rebuy and replay our Gutterbones if they take any amount of damage, which they will. Promote this guy because he's the veteran. I assume that they trade with our token here. And we will sandbag the land because I don't think we have any reason not to. So yeah, Lyra has first strike, so she's going to eat one of our guys and gain them 5 life. So that's really bad for us. Man, and the thing that sucks about this, and this is a very good play of them not to bounce our Legion War Boss, because now we're going to have to make a token that they can gain 5 life off of. So this guy has to go in. So the question is, you know, actually we would have killed him if we hadn't attacked that Teferi before. You would just have him right here. Well, let's see. I think that since this guy has to go in, it is... Oh, it's actually kind of nice that they did that. Because now we don't have the send a token in guaranteed every turn that they could just farm life off of.
Oh, I've done the hero thing before.
Ooh, Tagic. So that's going to prevent all non-combat damage to Lyra, but we do have live draws against her. We have another Bedevil, we have Chandra, we have Omnixilus's Cruelty, so I think we have about 6 things that can just kill her outright here. That's not one of them. He cannot be given first strike this turn because they don't have enough mana. Does it matter if we double pump? No, it does not. So they're going to gain 5. They can block. So they're kind of sacking their side here. Is there a way that I can just kill this Dreadhorde Butcher? No, there's not. Well, I'm going to say math is for blockers. And until they gain 5, they... So the thing is that they need to basically sacrifice their side here to not die, so I think this is okay. Out of the Ebon Legion, we have 1 pump for... Yeah, I'm not going to do this math on stream. We're just going to attack, and we will see... that seems like the worst block. There you go. So yep, we would have killed him if we hadn't gone after that Teferi there. Alright, so we will pump this guy up. They go to 6. Then they go to 2. Then they go back to 1. This guy was a 1-1, right? I think that's what that little 1 there means. I think we'll use this to kill this guy. Yep, just 1 damage. Just making sure that it wasn't like that hadn't hit them and then died somehow, which would have been weird, but, you know. Alright, so here goes now to the Ebon Legion. I imagine they hold back here. They're headed to a shock or a lightning strike. Oh, well, now they're not. That was a really good top deck. So they just drew one of those 2 off of the Teferi activation. Oh yeah, they can go in here because they'll gain plenty of life off of it. Okay, well that's going to be game. It's a close one. We could have won that if we had left our Teferi on board, but as we saw by leaving that second Teferi on board, that's not a great idea, especially when you have guys that you pump and guys that make tokens, because the Teferi actually kills the token while drawing them a card. So I think we were probably right to attack the Teferi there, even though the Psychic play would have been attacking everything at their face, and we would have gotten them down there. And that Lyra is really tough to get around when you're an aggro deck, but we are an aggro deck that has reach, which is really helpful, and also an aggro deck that has ways of just cleanly dealing with her at a really big tempo advantage to us, because she's a 5-drop, and the things that we can kill her with are 3-drops, or 3 mana spells. Opponent goes, okay, well, I guess I jinxed the go on stream and actually be on the play sometimes luck I was just talking about. We will keep this. I do like having these Gutter Bones as additional reasonably threatening 1-drops, just so that we have more consistent turn 1 plays. Okay, well it looks like we can probably get in here. I mean, they could have like flash guys or something, like a Spectral Sailor, but looks like that is not the case. Or if they did, they felt like holding it and passed priority entirely because they never... Oh, okay, Sultai Elementals. Nice, nice. Or 4-color... Oh, this is the 4-color list that's been running around. That's cool, I like that. So, I would love to Spectacle out Spawn of Mayhem here, but Risen Reef is, I think, way too big of a just win the game on its own card. If they play like 1 or 2 elementals next turn, then it's probably right for me to have offered the trade there, but I really don't think they would have done it, especially because we can rebuy Gutter Bones. And I did not use the Bedeck Bedazzle there, because there have been a few games where I've actually, my opponent conceded before I had the chance, but where I was able to Bedeck Bedazzle my Dreadhorde Butcher to make it like a 5-1, and then shoot them for 5 damage after attacks, or through a stalled board state. So, since they're already at 11, it seems pretty good here. Ooh, that's nice for them. Unfortunately, we don't have a burn spell for the Omnath. That would have made it deal 0, and we would have been very happy with that. But, okay, so I believe we're just going to... I think we Bedevil their Omnath. They probably chump. Well, but do we care that much if Omnath starts growing their guys? Like, Omnath doesn't empower future elementals other than by giving them +1/+1. I think that might be alright if we have a Spawn of Mayhem that's just beating them in the face and also letting us like rebuy Gutter Bones and stuff. And this is also a more efficient use of our mana. Although maybe it's actually right to have just gone in first and offered the trade with both of these guys. Take them to, yeah, I'm actually going to do this. Either way, we're taking them to 8, and then they're dead in 2 hits off of Spawn of Mayhem, so... yeah, I like this fine. We'll leave their Llanowar Elves because I imagine that anything they can cast, they're going to cast by now. And I just want to... that's an extra turn of us attacking them that we don't have to do. Ooh, okay. Well, that was a punish, because that made them exactly big enough to kill our Spawn of Mayhem. So that's bad for us. But fortunately, and this is not a card I was playing around because this looks like a 4-color elementals list, and then there's a Voracious Hydra in it, which, I mean, there's synergy there, sure, but that's not a thing that I think it's reasonable to play around. So I did not play around it. I mean, maybe this is actually a meta list I've just never heard of before. I'm a little bit, I want to adjust my camera a bit here. See if I can get a little more centered. I'm expecting them to have burn here. Oh, okay. If they actually swing, I expect that they have burn, but they do not swing, so actually a land here would be great, because then we can kill Voracious Hydra and swing with Knight of the Ebon Legion. They can jump with Llanowar Elves, but that's okay. Ooh, Great Big Hydroid Crisis is great for them. I guess it's only a, what, 4/4? Yeah, so that's not actually big enough to threaten the Pumped Knight, and they only get the 2 cards and 2 life, so that could have been worse for us. Great to get a Legion's End here and be able to... well, that's a Legion's something, but not Legion's End. I think I like going in, forcing a block. It's effectively the same thing as using a Bedevil on one of these guys. I imagine that they have to block because we're... oh, they let it in. We're quite ahead on the race here, so... I mean, it could be that they just have something in our hand that's going to kill this guy, and then they can have us on a short clock, but I was expecting them to block and then just be able to kill one of their guys, but also taking them to 6 is pretty good, so see how that works. Actually, what I was really hoping for was the double block. Since we just saw a previous opponent not remember the Death Touch on Knight of the Ebon Legion. Oh, there's a Nissa, so that's really bad for us. Nissa is very hard for us to come back from if they have any kind of board presence, because she kind of walls most of our side. Like Legion Warboss can't swing past. Yep, that's probably gonna do it here. I mean, I'll swing just for fun. I can't even kill him if this connects, but... yep. But they're dead to shock or something if they don't block, so that seems like the correct play on their part. It sucks losing a land for no reason, but like I was saying, you know, a Nissa puts us, if we don't have the board under control, a Nissa puts us pretty far behind because of all those 3/3s, you know, that stops Legion Warboss tokens, that stops us from being able to get in with a fresh Dreadhorde Butcher. Oh, we got to play this time, good. I should have complained about it enough, apparently. Alright, give him the old hello. Getting a lot of opening Gutter Bones here. We only have 2 of them in the deck, so that surprises me. Oh, nice! Double Gutter Bones. Well, we can attack past that one. Question is, do we want to... Yeah, I think we want to hold up a deck Bedazzled. I'm not going to remove the Gutter Bones right now, because it's only representing 2 damage. I don't expect that we can get blown out by leaving it out for a turn, and then we can see if they play like a Priest of Forgotten Gods, because in my experience it's usually Rakdos Aristocrat. Oh, huh, well, hello second Gutter Bones. That's playing that card. So it's really great for us that... do I actually just kill this guy here? Yeah, I think I do. This is our only removal, though. That's the issue. But hopefully... I'm just going to try to stay ahead of them here. And keep them on the back foot. So if I go in with Warboss, I keep the token. If I play Dreadhorde Butcher, I can pump the Dreadhorde Butcher and make it a 2/2. Or I can just play the Registar, but we have a lot of cards that we want to play. I think I'm going to play the Warboss because that's the most efficient use of our mana. And that ensures that this token stays around because they don't have a blocker for it this turn. This Gutter Bones is coming to play tapped. Okay. Oh, this might be the... is this mono black sacrifice or like black white sacrifice that's just missing on lands or what? I have no idea. I like playing Butcher here. I believe that I will not send in... Well, actually, do I send in the Legion Warboss? They block here. Yeah, so I don't want to trade Warboss for Gutter Bones, but I'd love to trade it for Reaper. But I guess I will just do this. I could leave this guy back, but they only have one person. I mean, if they're gonna... Oh, this is nice. Yeah, I love that. Do it. Do it. Because I really want to get rid of this Midnight Reaper, and this lets us do exactly that. They still get their 2 card draws, but hopefully now they will not be getting additional card draws for a little while, and I think that that put just enough damage on them to grow Knight of the Ebon Legion as well. So that's really good for us, because now that will trade with another Midnight Reaper, or just straight up wall a... Ooh, okay, Legion's End. Well, that's not going to happen. Or just straight up wall a Gutter Bones. Get to see our hand now. So that's cool for them. Kaya's Ghost Form. Okay, so this is like nothing I've experienced before. And does this come back into play? It just comes back into play, right? Yeah, it doesn't come back buffed or anything. So I think that this turn we're just going to go Chandra. She doesn't give us any additional value here, but she does put extra damage on them. And I would rather not play Registar and then discard Chandra, because she's going to give us a consistent source of pressure here. I think I'm going to leave this guy back to block so that they can't either kill Chandra or pump and hit us. I mean, they can if they have removal, but I'm okay with that. Okay, I guess they don't have it. I'm not sure exactly what our opponent's deck was there. It looked like it was a kind of aristocracy deck with the Midnight Reaper and the Ghost Form and everything. I don't know... And I mean, you can run things like Footlight Fiend because that's a hybrid card. You can run Priest of Forgotten Gods, which I imagine was in that deck. So yeah, I'm not. But it seems like there's less payoff in those colors because you don't have things like Dreadhorde Butcher, you don't have things like Chandra and Mayhem Devil from red, you don't have Sorin, War of the Spark Sorin from the White Splash or Cruel Celebrant. But yeah, so I don't know exactly what the payoff to that is, or if it was just a budget consideration or what. But I'd be interested in knowing more about it. Ooh, this is a really nice hand. We need one more land, and then we're just set. Hopefully they'll play a nice guy for us to Legion's End away here. That'd be a great guy to Legion's End away, thank you. Really nice thing about having two Legion's End is that we will be able to see into their hands, so even if they don't have two of these guys, we will then know, one, if it's safe for us to attack, which it looks like it is. I mean, they could top deck a haste creature, but I'm not going to play to that specific thing. And two, then if they have multiples of something, we will see that, and we will know what is or isn't a high-value second Legion's End. Unfortunately, we missed on a land here, so we can't get out the Knight of the Ebon Legion or play the War Boss if we wanted to do something other than Legion's Ending there. Looks like they're missing on lands too, so that's good. Alright, so this should be really good. This will give us two guys. They're probably going to kill this guy. A land will let them kill it. But if they don't, then that will trigger Spectacle for spawn. And even if they do, we still have this guy sitting around. Okay, they found a Lightning Strike. That's good for them. Oh, and we found the land anyways. We cannot play both this and Knight of the Ebon Legion because this still has 2 black on the Spectacle cost, and we only have 2, so unfortunate there, but, you know, okay, that'll do it. They really needed to hit some lands there so that they could double spell down the Spawn of Mayhem. And yeah, you know, we both kept 2 landers. We found a land they didn't. We do run 4 more lands than that deck, and they didn't hit any of their card advantage sources. None of which they actually could have played, I suppose, so that wouldn't have helped them, but yeah, Red Deck Wins runs pretty light on the lands because they have so many ways of just drawing additional cards. It's so crazy going up like as a mid-range value deck against the burn deck, and by like the 6th turn of the game they've drawn 7 more cards than you have. It's it's really an unusual feeling. Alright, what do you want to bet that we get Thought Erasure here? I'd give it even money. Yep. Alright, so we're up against Grixis. Seems like Dreadhorde Butcher's a pretty good rip here. That will turn on Spawn of Mayhem for turn 3, which I imagine they don't want. This also blanks our turn 2. So this is one of the situations where it actually is a tempo gain for them, or at least tempo neutral, to play discard, because they were able to take the only relevant spell we could have played that turn. But outside of that situation, it's tempo negative to play discard. Ooh, I wonder if this is actually a Grixis Surveil deck, or if they're just playing Discovery Dispersal for the filtering. Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit anxious about all these nickel bolasses that they're throwing away. Like, do they think it's not good in this match, or are they just... do they just feel they don't need them because their hand is that good? Or they have that many nickel bonuses already? I think that none of those things bode well for us, honestly. Oh, well, they didn't play a Bolas on 4. I don't think I'm pumping this turn. We have a couple of probably irrelevant burn spells in our hand that I'm fine with discarding to Regisar. And I would much rather... I'd much rather get the Regisar down and just beat as hard as I can, as fast as I can, before they, you know, get Bolas engines running and things like that. So yeah, they surveilled away the Ravager with Thought Erasure. I imagine this is a Bolas turn for them. I can't really imagine... Oh, Enter the God Eternals, that's a good one. I wasn't even thinking about that. We'll get rid of the... Actually, gonna get rid of the Cast Down. We can burn their face with Lightning Strike, and Legion's End will let us see their hand. So those are both really good, and we actually got the land here so that we can pump. We can both Legions and pump. So let's have a look. Yeah, yep, double nickel bolas. That does not surprise me. Alright, so we'll hit them for 12 here, so they're actually... so I imagine they Vraska's Contempt something. Oh, they don't know about this Lightning Strike. So if they play Bolus, we just win. Oh, they didn't have all... I thought they had 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is their third black. Okay. Okay, yeah, they don't have a way back into that because we have 2 creatures plus the Lightning Strike that they don't know about. But yeah, that was... You know, they took our turn 2 play there, and that felt like we were definitely on the back foot at that point because we hadn't represented any threat against them, and that is such a high inevitability, high answer density deck. But, you know, our cards are just so efficient at beating face for the amount of mana that they take that we got there anyways. We're going to shock ourselves a lot this game, but we're not keeping this hand, so... Alright. If opponent leads on island, I always really like having a thing that I can play on turn 1 before they have any potential, you know, counter magic up. Other than, you know, a Spell Pierce or Syncopate for 0, which does nothing against Knight of the Ebon Legion, of course. Ooh, okay, so Island Search. I have legitimately no idea what our opponent could be doing. Are they an Esper deck that's just drawing really janky lands? I'm going to shock this instance, I have no idea what's going on. Are they like a mono blue tempo deck that runs Search for Azcanta for some reason? You know, we've seen some unusual decks today. All right, well they are running counter magic. This looks like it's a mono blue deck. Augur of Bola. Okay, nope. So they got Steam Vents there. So this is. Yeah, we're not going to respond to that. We will probably Lightning Bolt this Augur of Bolas. Ooh, they whiffed on it. That's great for us. Because we don't want this guy chump blocking. That's one of the problems with this deck is it's very, very weak to chump blockers. This turn, we have a lot of cards that we like in our hand. So we're going to forsake the Regisar for now. Plop down Chandra. I think that I like just beating face here instead of trying to get card advantage off of Chandra. Because I think that if we win this one, we are winning it by being the beatdown deck, especially because they have the Search for Azcanta filling up their graveyard. They keep it on top. I think I played Yellow Dancer earlier today, or maybe it was the previous stream or something. So pumping Knight of the Ebon Legion is very weak to spot removal, so I'm not going to pump this turn. And they don't really have much in the way of board wipes in these colors that can kill 6 toughness creatures. So for this turn, I'm just going to play this. And then I'll play this. Okay, they have Ionize. That's not a card to see often, but if you're playing an Is It control deck, that is a really good card to include. I think that I like Sinister Sabotage more if you're just going to play 1 3-mana counterspell. I would usually prefer that one in these colors, because the Surveil actually really helps you get to your relevant cards. But, so question is, do I pump? I think the answer is actually no. I'm almost certain that they have removal in hand, because of the way that priority is being held here. And starting next turn, I can double pump, because we have a swamp in hand. You know, I probably actually should have Lightning Striked here. That would have taken them to 5. Oh, it's actually Chemister's Insight. Well, I mean, it could also be, this could get them to flip Azcanta. It could also be they have removal, and that's just another one of the instances they had. They do play a lot of those in this deck. Okay, so Azcanta transforms, I imagine. Have we put anything relevant in here yet? Oh, there's Lightning Strike in there. So I probably should have Lightning Strike there to take them to 5 and then pump Knight of the Ebon Legion. That would have given us exactly lethal without pumping Knight. because we could Chandra flashback, deal another 3. I guess they... Oh, okay. I mean, we have double pump here. So that one targets there, and we will... Oh, wait. We don't have double pump yet, because we only have... Oh, that's right. I mean, we'll do this anyways. Yeah, because we have to play this swamp before we can do that. That's right. So I'm pretty sure that here we're just going to lightning strike them. Got them as low as possible. Could have another Ionize or Sinister Sabotage. Swan of Mayhem's really good for us. I think... So I think that I prefer using this because they have no creatures in play now. So this takes them to 3, and that means that Chandra can kill them next turn with this. Okay, they have another Ionize. Yeah, they're flipping that Search for Azcanta there was really clutch for them, because that gave them just enough to counter that guy. But they have to kill Chandra here or gain life, or they're dead. And I don't think they can do that with one card. They can discard this card to Chemister's Insight, and then have 4 mana up, which would be enough to kill Chandra with a couple of burn spells. And I don't think we've actually seen more than one Lightning Strike. And we have seen Expansion Explosion, so they could get a Lightning Strike and a Expansion to kill her. Oh, actually, they only have to deal 3 damage to her. Oh, there you go. That'll do it. Well, this takes them to... We're going to run this out right now, because they have counter magic. It looks like this game's probably going to come down to, you know, play versus draw again, as they so often do. Alright, so we can't do anything about this. We will probably Obnixilus's Cruelty this guy here in case we get, like, a... Ooh. Yuck. They found their 3rd Expansion Explosion. Yeah, I think that we're probably locked out of this unless we can, like, top deck Burn or Chandra. Those are our 2... I think those are our 2 outs. Ooh, they're tapping... Why are they tapping down this far here? It feels like they... Oh, and they find a negate. Jeez. Let's see if we can get them to use that negate right now, because I don't think this Augur of Bolas is going to be relevant. But I also don't think we're going to have any other things that we really care to... Nope, okay. I was really hoping we could get that out of their hand. Yeah, really hoping we could have gotten that out of their hand now, it looks like. Maybe they'll tap all the way down for a huge Expansion Explosion. Or tap down for a Azcanta activation, plus some more spells. I don't know. This is the second time we've been sitting here in like an inevitable board state with 1 life on our opponent, although I don't think we could have done anything to get in for more damage here. We're going to hold this. Make them think we have more action than we do. They can activate Azcanta and still have 2 mana up here, so... They're playing this very smart. Ral Storm Conduit. This is a really cool deck that I've never been able to make work, really. It is really good when Burn, like when your opponent's playing a deck where Burn is really good, this deck is really good, because it has a lot of Burn. And when your opponent's playing creatures that are too big for your Burn to be relevant, or where they can get in underneath it, it just feels miserable. Alright, so I think they're going to copy a huge Expansion Explosion here, and probably, let's see. I don't think they can close out the game with that, can they? Oh, they just double shock us? Okay. So that's a total of 6 damage. They can just do that twice and win. Okay, there you go. We will show them we had the shock, so it's... the fact that they found that negate the moment before we found the shock was pretty good for them. They could also have... Wow! They had everything. I mean, they went through half their deck, so it's pretty likely that they had everything. But okay, so we're just going to resolve one. We're going to see if they get greedy and try to go for the... try to go for an even bigger blowout, and then maybe we can get them. But I don't think that's going to happen. They've been playing very, very smart this whole time with their 1 life total. And actually, that's one of the reasons that I've been playing more red-black decks of late, is that I've found that either black or white removal is really important in a lot of decks. You know, I was playing Teamer Elementals for a lot of last season, and actually a lot this season too. And yeah, looks like they're not gonna do it. This is insane. It's not the most insane thing I've seen, but it is pretty cool. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Teamer and things like that, and I really do like those decks, but the removal suites in them just feel very weak to me because there are so many things that, you know, 2 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage just does nothing against. So it feels like you really want a hardier removal suite. I have no idea what's going on with this stack, by the way. Like, are they infinite comboing or something? I can't even tell. Like, it seems like it should have been done by now. Okay, so the expansion... Okay, we'll just say this is enough, and they're probably not... We'll actually just shock ourselves here. Actually, we'll shock Ral, so that they know we're not saying, like, oh, we know that we got you. We'll just shock the Ral, and show them that we had it, and that they were being really smart by holding up that negate the whole time. I mean, I guess they could also just let this sit on the stack here and not do anything. I mean, I guess they might be thinking... They're probably sweating, actually, because of the Dragon Skull Summit. Okay, and we'll just pass the turn here, and we'll resolve all here, and let them... Well, actually, I don't think we can resolve all, because these are all going on the stack individually. But, yeah, I actually think it was a big mistake for them to have countered that, because we had an unknown card in hand, which I forgot about, and that could have killed them, because we have all this mana up. But we'll let them do their... Okay, so what does this do? So he's doing the damage there. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn... So, what are the expansion explosion... Oh, they had 2 Okay, they copied the expansion explosion. They're copying the expansion wait, but I thought they couldn't... Oh, right, okay. So when expansion explosion is on the stack, the expansion side is CMC2. It's only when it is anywhere other than the stack where it is the combined CMC of all of the sides put together, all the parts of the card put together. That is a thing I wasn't even thinking about, because I'd thought to myself, oh, well, you can't copy this card because of that, but no, that's not true. You can copy it, and that's actually a really cool infinite combo. I'd never considered that before because I just wasn't thinking, because, you know, I was so stuck on the, oh, Chandra can't flash these split cards back, my life is terrible. Yeah, another really nice close game there. Probably do one more with this deck, and then look at a different one, I think. Neither of these decks that I'm playing today are ones that I've put a whole lot of optimization into. I'm just kind of doing what comes to mind, but this is a pretty good opener for us, because we get in for 3 here and grow the Dreadhorde Butcher, and this card at bottom, which we always love to see. And then if we get a red source, we have Chandra for next turn, and they just scoop. That happens a lot with this deck, more than any of the decks that I probably play. Maybe Rakdos Aristocrats, actually, because if you go... Oh, well, yeah, let's do one more, because that wasn't really a game. With Rakdos Aristocrats, the Priest of Forgotten Gods into Chandra Acolyte of Flame, that causes a lot of just instant concessions. But I think next to that, this one probably gets more insta-scoops than anything I've seen, because people can just, you know, if you do that, we played this guy a lot before. If you have you know, you're on the play, you have a really fast start like that, and your opponent doesn't have any good answers for it, then, you know, it's just lights out for them. I think I'm going to put back the Lightning Strike here. If I could have just one of these burn spells, I'd rather have the Cast Down, because the only thing we have to apply pressure early here is Knight of the Ebon Legion. And I don't expect it to go to face, and Cast Down can hit a few more things that might wall us than Lightning Strike would. I could do a thing like, you know, Lightning Strike their face here, pump Knight of the Ebon Legion, but that sounds pretty bad, so... Could have gone Blood Crypt there, but I would like to hold up Cast Down mana in case there's a thing that we want to remove. I could cast this down, but I'm not going to. I would rather swing. I assume they block. We will pump. This is why being on the play is insane in this deck. I mean, they could have had that guy for last turn too, but we still have... Okay, well now our plan is kill Risen Reef, but we still have... we'd have the ability to play Spawn of Mayhem here, regardless of what had happened. Okay, so do we actually Bedazzle this, or do we... Well, no matter what we do, we're playing this tapped. Actually, we're going to swing before I do anything. We'll see if they decide to take the trade, which, I mean, it's not a trade, they're just fogging potentially 4 damage. But yeah, I think we do this here, because there aren't really many... Well, actually, we have a Bedevil for Omnath, so I like using this here, where Cast Down can hit a larger thing, or something that Omnath has pumped, or things like that. I think we will shock this in, so that if they play another thing we want to remove so that we can swing with Knight next turn, we can do that. I guess they haven't represented red yet, so Omnath is out of the question at the moment. Okay, so this looks pretty good because we've made them make this baby Krasis. Do we even cast this down? I don't think we do, because either they chump, which we're fine because then we kill it for free, or they don't block it, and we Spectacle Spawn of Mayhem and possibly have Cast Down if we draw a land here, which we do. So, yeah, I'm okay with just swinging here. I imagine this gets let in. Oh, they're actually... So now this is making me question my decision, because it seems like they very likely have... If they're chumping like that, they very likely have a pretty strong hand, and they just wanted to cycle through the deck and slow us down. Okay, so yeah, here is where we really like having Cast Down and things like that, because they can get their Hydroid Krasis back, but... So actually what we want them to do is accept this trigger. We would love it if they accepted this trigger, and then we top deck a land. That would be amazing too. Alright, good. It looks like they're going to... Oh, they did not. Okay, so they're familiar with this line. Because if they'd put a thing on top, it would have just gotten milled, because the death trigger goes on the stack before the... Well, goes on this trigger, goes on the stack on top of the... You know, the life trigger, the come into play trigger. So unfortunately this turn, we cannot pump and play Spawn of Mayhem even with Spectacle because we didn't draw land, but we can still do this and bluff removal. There's no downside to paying the Spectacle instead of the regular mana cost. They could do another Cavalier here, and then that's a really good value play. Yep, so that is terrible for us. I figured the odds of them having 2 of their Cavaliers in the top 20 cards were low, which they are, but sometimes they just got it. There's the land we needed there. I think we're just killing Cavalier, accepting that they're going to get the death trigger, because it's going to wall our entire side. I mean, we could double pump with Knight, but they take Mass Manipulation. Yeah, it's really bad for us. Yeah, we really have... This is one of those no-win situations I was talking about before. I mean, we can hold up to kill one of the guys they Mass Manipulate. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they can take 2 of our guys. Yeah, but, I mean, I think they just got this at this point. The Psychic play would have been to hold up for... hold up the removal for the second Cavalier of Thorns, but again, having... yeah. They're good. But the odds of them having their having two of their Cavaliers in those like three or four cards that they had in the top 20 were pretty low, so I felt like that wasn't worth playing around, and it was such a huge tempo hit to us, and we really need to be aggressive in that match. The Cavalier of Thorns is such a huge beating. If you don't have the removal spell as it comes down, then of course there aren't many removal spells that actually kill it, so Bedevil and Cast Down are the only ones that will answer it cleanly, and only if you cast it while the Come Into Play trigger is on the stack. So yeah, big difference there between the good play and the Psychic play. But, so it goes. No turn 1 play, but we are on the play with Dreadhorde Butcher into Warboss, into Mayhem, so that sounds great. Hopefully Butcher can get in some damage and then eat some removal so that Warboss can get some damage in so that that can trigger Spawn of Mayhem coming down on the cheap. And maybe we play another card. We will not bluff a removal spell here, I think. Alright, so Temple of Triumph usually says to me that we are playing against Feather. Actually, while we're waiting for them to scry him, I'm going to take a vitamin C. I'm trying to stave off getting sick from the con last weekend, which I've been doing successfully so far. I don't think I gave a after-action report on the con last weekend, actually. It was 2D Con here in Minneapolis. It was pretty good. It was very loud because they had board games, which I was there with, and video games all in the same room, which, yes, is very loud. But, yeah, it was fun. And, let's see, I'm trying to decide if I want to Warboss or Spawn of Mayhem. I'm trying to remember what removal they actually have in this deck. I think they have, well, the Fiery, or Reckless Rage, the 4 damage one, is I think their main removal spell. So, I think I'm going to go in here, because they also have Shock. So I'm going to go in, no, okay, no Shock. This also lets us cheat on mana here, and then next turn we have a guaranteed Warboss into Shock even if we can't get in. And they also need to have a creature out to be able to Reckless Rage. So, this seems like the better play to me. And yeah, notably Spawn of Mayhem lines up pretty well against 3/4 flyers. I'm going to play this here so I can visualize our mana situation. I think I like going in with just Spawn. I'm not a huge fan of running the Dreadhorde Butcher into Feather. Actually, maybe I kind of am a fan of that. Running Butcher into Feather, actually hitting them for 3, then shocking the Feather down. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Because I imagine that them putting this Feather out, if they block with her, that means that they have more feathers in hand. I always assume that the Feather deck has more creatures if they play one without protection. But I think this is a better job of playing to our outs here. And then we have a second Spawn of Mayhem, which we'll cast with Spectacle. If we cast Knight there, we would get the pump off of it from the Spawn of Mayhem damage. They'd actually taken 5 damage that turn. But, yep, second Feather, they shock that in, so I imagine that means they have protection for her. But I think that if they, God's willing, Feather, they just die. And they might not know that. So they're going to 5, we're going to 17. We'll have 2 4/4 flyers. Okay. I hope that they God's willing her, because I'm pretty sure that's how this works, and I would love to be proven right or wrong about that. I'm not even going to play the Legion Warboss because I think that they're only out Oh wait, no, we're still 4/4s. Okay, never mind, never mind. Ignore everything I just said. Oh wait. Okay, well, we'll do this. We'll see what they do. Let's give us the extra 1 hasty power. I want them to block Spine of Mayhem with Feather and then put God's Willing on her, because I'm pretty sure that how protection works with Trample is if they give her protection from black, she will take no damage. Yep. So she takes 0 damage because protection stops all damage. We have Trample, so we trample all 4 of our damage over Feather. Okay, they didn't actually block. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Please correct me in the comments if I have wrong, or corroborate if I am right, so that we can all learn together, because learning Magic is a lifelong endeavor. But anyway, I said I was going to switch decks, and then I forgot. So now we're going to move over to these ones. We changed the Legion's Shadow deck up a little bit, where I think we have an extra Routing Regisaur now, and then we have 3 Legion Warboss. I find in this deck I actually like the Spawn of Mayhem more because it's a more aggressive card, even though the go wide element of Warboss is great and it can more easily take a game over on its own instead of just being a clock. But that's where we are for that right now. We also have Sky's Shadow, which is a little more, well, a lot more Mu Yanling focused. I got the Mu Yanling sleeves because I really like those, and then you get the effect here. But so a little more flying focused with Stormkin, Mu Yanling, and Spawn of Mayhem. But I also don't. This is another one of the Thought Erasure Grixis aggro E decks that I just feel doesn't work that well. So what I'm trying instead is there's the Grixis mid-range decks, but this is again a more of a Grixis Shadow style deck where we have a lot less top end. Nothing in the way of board wipes aside from the sideboard, where we're probably sideboarding out some of our weaker threats, lower power and toughness. And then more heavy beatdown top end. So we have the 3 Nicol Bolas the Ravager, which I'd tried in the aggro builds and did not like because the 4/4 flyer for 4 wasn't super relevant, the discard wasn't super relevant, and it just, the flipping happened way too late to be super impactful, super high impact, sorry. So I tried that out in those aggro lists, but this one, we actually have just kind of gone in on all of the really nice 3-drop threats that we like and taken out all the 2-drops, because as I mentioned before, the Lightning Stormkin, probably the weakest card in the deck, although in a deck with a lot of 2-drops, it's nice to have those extra 3 or 4 there. And then Dreadhorde Butcher, while its ceiling is super high, its floor is super low. Sometimes it's a 1/1 for 2 that gets walled by Arboreal Grazer, and that feels terrible. So we cut all those. We're not going the Grixis control route here, where we have Search for Azcanta and main deck board wipes and things like that, but we are a little more towards the mid-range side. I think that this is still much lower curve than most Grixis mid-range decks that I've seen, which also usually have 4 Nicol Bolas the Ravager, along with the Dragon God, Nicol Bolas Dragon God, the 5-drop, which in a deck where we have double blue and double red, getting triple black out is really greedy and not often feasible. So in addition to the curve considerations and the fact that I only have 1 right now, not running that. Although actually seeing these God Eternals here, the Enter the God Eternals, oops, I just pulled out. Actually, maybe I'll pull that out for now. Go down and negate. So I do have these negates in the sideboard despite Rotting Regisaur, but those often get swapped out for each other, I feel like. So to avoid the non-bow there of holding up reactive spells while having a card that makes you discard a card every turn. And I wanted to put in, but had forgotten to put in Enter the God Eternals, because that's a really good card against red deck wins, which we've struggled with previously, and this deck can cast it more consistently because it's a little bit more about pumping the brakes than going really, really fast. So hopefully, well, we're just going to do best of 1 now, but hopefully in the red deck wins matchup, between having some board wipes and some Enter the God Eternals, we can make some good things happen there. Sideboard wise, so main deck, pretty much what we've been running before. Put in 2 Lava Coils because the Exile is really important. 4 damage is great against things like Feather, which I've been seeing tons of, although I think we haven't played against much Feather on stream lately, aside from that last game. Up to 3 Regisaur, because that seems like the right number. The 2 Mu Yanling, this is actually because I have been having so much success with her in the red deck wins match. It's really astounding to me how good she has been there. It seemed like she would be too slow and dirtily, but that is probably where she has shined the most. I think that my win rate when I have played her against red deck wins has been like considerably in the positive. And it's like, and the thing is that just Mu Yanling on her own isn't that great, but Mu Yanling against red deck wins. But Mu Yanling with a bunch of cheap removal and a bunch of undercosted threats that can also stay in front of her for return to block if necessary, while she is reducing everyone's power and eventually winning the game with elementals is great. And again, you still have to win really fast against red deck wins because they have that super powerful card advantage engine of, you know, divination for 1 into 4-drop enchantment that lets them draw 3 cards per turn, or 4 or more. I really don't love that we don't have black for the Thought Erasure or the Bedevil, but we have Mu and Chandra, and we're on the draw, so we have a couple of draws to find black, and even if we don't, we have a slow start, and there it is right there, like we had it. Magic is easy, you just have to draw what you need. So, okay, Esper. Yep, and so there goes our Thought Erasure. I mean, maybe they get rid of the Mu. Oh, they, yep, just insta-take Thought Erasure. So this is probably one of our worst matchups. As we've discussed before, the matchup with this deck is probably not as bad as the, there's our second black for Bedevil, as the matchup versus, as the matchup with the 2-drop aggro variants. Teferi, so awesome. Love playing Hearthstone. Oh, I'm actually pretty surprised that they minused, because that lets us just kill him with Chandra. And then, yeah, they've drawn a card, but they lost a card to draw the card, and we still have something on the table. I don't want both of these here, obviously. Come on. He's not that scary, he only owes 1 loyalty. You can do it, there we go. So yeah, I don't know what's in their hand, obviously, but I feel like since they knew we had a Chandra there, that wasn't necessarily the best call. Definitely hoping to dodge a Thought Erasure here so that we can plop Bolus down. Okay, let's see if they do that same thing again. I'm gonna guess... Oh, geez, they're just cycling through their deck without a care in the world. So those extra draws make Bolus's discard a lot worse, but I still think he's probably the right play here. I mean, I guess we could also, like, Thought Erasure or something, but that doesn't seem... It seems like I should actually be playing a threat this turn. Play the Bolus, make them discard a card, keep him safe from being discarded in turn, and then next turn we can play a 3-drop minus Chandra and Thought Erasure them back with the Thought Erasure they so rudely stole from our hand. And this is a match where we often... Wow, okay. Well, worst matchup. Apparently Nicol Bolas is just better than Esper. You heard it here first. And I can kind of see why they did that, because apart from the Chandra, which is kind of weird, we looked like a Grixis control deck there, and if they were cycling through their deck that quickly with the Teferi, I imagine that they had very little in their hand. And also I feel like I haven't played Grixis control or Esper control, I don't have all the cards for either one, but from just my observations it always seems like Esper is weaker versus Grixis, because of Esper's strengths of having life gain doesn't really do anything, its strengths of having Kaya's Wrath, better board wipes doesn't really do anything, so it looks like they had a really bad hand there. Although I guess if they had a really bad hand, them discarding a card shouldn't do anything, so I don't know, maybe I'm just completely nuts. This is a great hand. We really want lands, but we have a Thought Erasure to help get us there, we have a threat on turn 1, we get to get rid of their best card. It is telling how good Thought Erasure is when usually the card that you Thought Erasure is the Thought Erasure. Looks like we're getting shocked here. That's fine. That stops them from, assuming they're on red deck wins, that stops them from doing things like actually playing a threat that they can throw at us this turn. Oh, jeez! This looks like the standard red deck wins, but it has Tin Street Dodger, which really surprises me. I don't see those together very often. So we have a cast down. I think we're getting rid of Light Up the Stage here. because that's going to do a really good job of drawing them out of this. And there's the land. That's going to do a really good job of drawing them out of this mana screw if they... I mean, we know that they can cast it next turn, because they can cast a creature here, and then, well, I guess we have a Moo who's going to stop that from happening. Alright, so just talking about how good Moo is in this matchup, let's see how she does. Sorry about that. Just checking to make sure everything was looking okay on the stream. This is not a great play here, I feel like, because if they find land, they can Pyromancer her, but she has eaten 3 damage then, that they are not dealing to us. Now she will eat more damage from them, and then I think we play a Bolus. We're going to shock ourselves down to 13, which feels bad. But if we get a land, next turn we can play out our entire hand, and they scoop too. Wow, okay, well apparently Bolus is really good. But yeah, you can see even in that short match... okay, one, that time we were on the play versus Red Deck wins, and they missed on land turn 2. They found it turn 3, but yeah, you can see the difference between playing on turn 1 versus playing on turn 2 there. They could have had a Fanatical Firebrand down turn 1, which they could have sacrificed to Spectacle off their... I mean, they could have... We had the Knight of the Ebon Legion, so they could have just sacrificed it to Spectacle off, light up the stage, hit their second land, be able to play another creature, which they could have attacked with. No, it couldn't have, it needs to pay mana, I think, for Tin-3 Dodger to get past blockers, so they couldn't have done that. But anyway, you can see how big of a difference that was on the play versus on the draw. We can only cast these... Well, we can't actually cast anything but Lava Coil out of this. This would be a very greedy keep. This is a really nice keep. So we can shock turn 1, we can Thought Erasure turn 2. We're going to throw back a shock. Gonna give him yield hello. Neurotically arrange our hand, and we will be off. Yeah, you can see the amount of work that even in that short game that Moo put out there. Just stalling their damage that badly. Okay, Oath of Teferi. I'm pretty sure that Search for Azcanta is the best card in their hand right now, especially because... 4th land... I like a 4th land, actually. Because this gives us Chandra mana. We don't have double red otherwise. So, they can plop down a Narset, and then we can kill the I'll take the Narset down to 1 with Chandra. I think that it's actually more important here to plus, so they can go Oath of Kaya, take her down to 2, but she can still flash back a card, or they can go Narset. Then we can either Thought Erasure them, depending on what they hit, or we can just bring the Narset down to 1 loyalty. We can actually do that with our shock, though, too. So I think I like... We need to draw some threats here, is really what we need to do. So I'm going to minus Chandra, rip the best thing out of their hand. It's too bad that they found that second Oath of Kaya, because now, even if we take the Oath of Kaya, they can still kill Chandra. I think I like taking the Narset here. If they only had 1 Oath of Kaya, I would take that, but they have 2, which feels bad. And then, because I don't think they have any shock targets in their deck, we'll throw a shock there. We have, probably want a 3rd red. So if they do Oath of Kaya here, they cannot play a new Narset, so that's nice for us at least. And then we will play Knight of the Ebon Legion, and hopefully they will Oath of Kaya it. Well, they're eyeing the Oath of Kaya they have in play. There's Oath of Teferi. That's good for them. I wasn't even thinking about blinking their Narset. Believe it or not, Oath of Teferi is not a card that I see played very often. We draw another probably blank removal spell. I'm pretty sure that man. So the problem here is they can double minus and get a ton of cards. If we pump, they can kill Knight of the Ebon Legion because we're one short of double pumping. I honestly don't know which is worse. I think that letting them find 2 answers is worse than us. Is worse than getting our Knight of the Ebon Legion removed, even though we have no other... Oh, okay. So that was definitely the right play then, because they were killing this guy no matter what we did. So this is more how I expect the Esper matchup to go than that previous one. And if we top deck a Nicol Bolas, we're in a great spot. I'm just going to cast down this guy, even though it gives them a card. God, I really hate that. I really hate to do that. But it does give us potentially a window of removing their Liliana. That's not going to do it. This game looks like it's pretty much over. We're just going to give them the good game. That was really nice with their bouncing the Narset. So perhaps it was right for me to take the Oath of Teferi instead of the Search for Azcanta. But it was going to take 3 more turns for them to play the Oath of Teferi, and I feel like Search for Azcanta is actually much better for them because it ramps their mana, it scrubs their lands, and then it's giving them a new card every turn, which is really hard for us to fight against. Our only real way of doing so being to kill them before it starts happening, which is hard when they're on Esper and have life gain and tons of removal and tons of planeswalkers, or to get one of our 2 Bedeck Bedazzles, which I don't want to play around, or don't want to assume is going to happen. Another great... Actually, this isn't that great, because we can't play Knight of the Ebon Legion turn 1. That's unfortunate. But we can Thought Erasure, and then Knight of the Ebon Legion Thought Erasure, so that's all good. This one... They don't have Autumn... They have Veil of Summer main deck. Wow. Okay, well, there you go. You got it. It paid off. I mean, most decks do have black or blue spells that want to kill your things in them, so... That's not like it's a totally out of nowhere, why would you ever run this? What? Alright, I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what we do about that. We don't have Elder Spell in this deck, which you probably should have it in the sideboard. But so they have 3 mana, that's 1 off of Vivian, but we're obviously not taking them off of Vivian. Their Barkhide Troll doesn't do a whole lot. I do like a Legion's End. It's not going to do much here. It's effectively going to turn their 2/3 into a 1/1, which is not a great rate of exchange for spending an entire card. But if they get another Nissa and animate a forest, Legion's End exiles literally every forest they have in play. So if we'd have known that was there, we might have actually taken that Barkhide Troll and hoped that they get up to Nissa pretty quickly. Why? I guess they want to have the chance to double block here. Is that what's going on? The problem here is that our Rotting Registars are going to make us discard cards, so I think for now I will attack. I imagine that since they didn't attack, they want to kill this Knight of the Ebon Legion, so I will give them that opportunity to 2-for-1 themselves. Yeah, I think that these guys, or these guys, I think that this person might have also missed the whole Death Touch element of this. Unless they have... This card is... Nope, doesn't look like it. So yeah, I'll trade my 1-drop for your 2-drop and your 2-drop any day. Even if I had to spend 3 mana pumping it. Ooh, Chandra's a great pickup here because that Well, we can rebuy a Thought Erasure, which we're not Thought Erasuring their Vivians. So this becomes a 4/4. But anyway, this is a way of hopefully making them tap down with their Paradise Druid. And oh god, we're never getting rid of all these Vivians though. That's the issue here. So yeah, and that's a plus ability. Yeah, I actually don't know what to do with this Chandra, honestly. I don't think the 2 damage is relevant, so I guess this is the thing. I mean, if they... So they don't kill our Chandra with Paradise Druid. Oh, I guess that was a good play. They must have just missed on land and given up. But wait, but they could play Vivian with their Paradise Druid. I feel like they were in a really good position there. I'm honestly really surprised that they scooped. Maybe they just felt like I have all these redundant Vivians, I effectively mulliganed twice off of this, but in that case I feel like they could have just mulliganed their opening hand because they were still on 7 there. But I will never know what was going through their mind or going through their hand. I can only speculate. Come to Monet. Alright, now we're getting on the play. That's what I like to see. Alright, gonna lead on Watery Grave because that lets us cast Thought Erasure off of any check land that we can draw. And then hopefully that will help us... Oh, well maybe do we just Legion's End? I think I actually like doing the Thought Erasure here. Because if they have a really, really powerful 3-drop we want to keep them off of. Actually I'm going to swing first, just keep them off of information. And see if they want to chump, which I doubt they do. But I always give them the chance to mess up. So if they have a really powerful 3-drop, then we can just keep them off of that. Like Domri, Anarch of Bolas, for instance. And now we know that they have double Llanowar Elves. Ooh, I really like another Thought Erasure, actually. More importantly, we know that they have Growth Chamber Guardian and Pelt Collector, which are probably higher priority targets here. I imagine they're going to play both of them, so that's unfortunate they can squeeze them both out, but as long as they get a 2/2. I'm not blocking with Knight of the Ebon Legion, so I'm actually going to attack. Well, actually, if they block with the Pelt Collector, then they can adapt their Growth Chamber Guardian. Oh, but that's fine, because then I can just Legion's End it. Okay, I like this line a lot. I imagine they see the pump. Okay, so I don't think that taking their Llanowar Elves is great for us here. And I would rather them spend mana on their Growth Chamber Guardian here while we pump our guy. So they'll get this guy up to a 4/4. They'll be able to hit us for 6 or 7. But that will probably be all they can do that turn. If they do choose to pump this guy, they can play another Llanowar Elves, obviously, but that's a less big play. Okay, awesome. So now they get another one into their hand. And then, oh, I think, have they played a land this turn? They might actually play that one too. No, okay. So we take 6. I'm okay with that. I will Legion's End their Growth Chamber Guardian. Actually, first I will swing. Because I don't think, yeah. Well, maybe I actually hold back to block the Pelt Collector, because our life total is under threat. If they have something that can grow the Pelt Collector, then we're sad. But I don't think that the swing for 2 is that relevant here. So let's do this. Would have been great to have found a land. Ooh. Oh boy. That's a problem. Okay, well, Knight of the Ebon Legion dies next turn. So, I mean, if they jump with Llanowar Elves, that puts them off of the Great Worm for a turn. And it looks like they're actually considering it. No, okay, yeah. Casting this thing is... Wait. Okay, yeah, it only takes one red. They have plenty. So they can give this thing haste. That becomes a 3/3. This is a 5/6. You go to 2. They kill a Knight of the Ebon Legion. Oh, sorry, we go to 3 because if they ride it, they don't get the +1/+1, and that will definitely do it. So psychic play would have been to Thought Erasure that out of their hand. But again, I don't think that was the good play. I have found with these Grixis decks that, well, the Grixis and the Rakdos decks, that the decks that I struggle with the most tend to be the, maybe not the most, because Red deck wins is really tough against some of them, but one of the toughest decks is the Groll decks and the mono green decks that just have yuck. No untapped turn 1, no Thought Erasure turn 2, no red. Pass. Still no untapped lands, but going to 5 seems terrible. I think I'm putting back the Chandra here because we're a ways off from her being relevant, and she also can't flash back Bedazzle, so. I'm going to lead on this one, so that if we don't get an untapped land here, we can play Knight of the Ebon Legion at least. Oh, this is not a good deck to mulligan and then have a terribly slow start against. Get another check land, so we've drawn half of them in the first 7 cards of our deck. I guess technically 8 because we bottomed a card. Boop. Yeah, so the problem that I find with those decks is that while we do have... Oh, I will take that trade all day. We want to keep them off of a critical mass of cards, and we only have 1 removal spell. Adanto, nice. Question is, do I kill this guy, or do I Thought Erasure them? This doesn't look like... This looks like White Weenie more than vampires, unless they're just missing on their black, or they're hiding it. So Sorin obviously is the big problem here. So I think that I like playing this. I can take the 3 off of Adanto, and I will just make sure we're not about to get Sorined. Nope, okay, so this is White Weenie indeed. With a life gain element. So I think, oh boy. History of Benalia is just so hard for us to deal with. So I think we take that, and then we have Bedazzle for the Benelish Marshal, which means that they leave their Adanto Vanguard around, but I think that that's better than them getting 2 2/2s. I could be wrong about that. But okay, yes, they play that guy. They hit us for 4. If you get a Lightning Strike or a Cast Down, we can kill both of these guys here. That is neither of those things. We need to stop drawing lands, please. We've had 3 spells this game. Granted, we mulliganed away a Chandra, which I think that was the right play there. I suppose I could have done this on their turn, but I don't think that would be terribly relevant. And actually, we don't want to do that because they do have Convoke spells, so if that would let them convoke something out more easily, that would be terrible for us. We'd feel very bad about that. Well, Regisar is bigger than their side. I guess they just Conclave Tribunal it away, but we can't just hold this knowing that they have Conclave Tribunal. So they're getting in for 3, 4, 5, 7, taking us to 6. We are almost assuredly dead. I guess if they miss a land, they have to tap down one of these guys to Conclave Tribunal. Oh, jeez. This guy gets in 5. This guy becomes a 2/2 when he dies. Or they can just, yeah. Just Conclave Tribunal us. Yep, yep. Very nice draws there, having the History of Benalia and back-to-back Benelish Marshals with a nice wide board like this, super good for them. Well, there's a Chandra. We can flash back a Thought Erasure. So I'll just give them the good game and rip their Ajani's Pridemate. I'm surprised to see that Pridemate, actually, given that we haven't seen any life gain. Oh, we tapped off of blue there. Ha! Never mind. We can't even cast that card. Should really pay more attention to the auto tapper there. Because, I mean, auto tap will tap. I mean, you can have nothing but a disfigure in your hand, and it will just arbitrarily tap you off of black. But I feel like in cases where you're going to spend your mana to flash something back from your graveyard that you can't flash back on the current board state, that's a place where it's more understandable to me that, like, okay, yeah, you weren't planning for that. It's harder to program that in to an auto tapper than literally this is the only color of mana that is relevant to what is in their hand. Maybe we'll leave that up, which doesn't always happen, but I feel like maybe it should always happen. Let me know if you disagree. Ooh, got the Kaya Mirror match versus Uncle Carl. Not as good as Uncle Istvan, but still pretty good. Can we keep 3 lands and 4 3-drops? On the play, or on the draw, I think so. I would rather not go down cards. Okay, and they're having a nice slow start here. Okay, so the Steam Vents gives us whatever we need on turn 3. Oh, that lines up terribly against what they have. So we'll do this. If you're on the play here, he says every game he's on the draw. Moo is great against their Thorn Lieutenant. Oh wait, no. Moo is terrible against Thorn Lieutenant because it spells or abilities. Hopefully they're not sandbagging the land for end of turn and they just missed here entirely. Oh man, I would love to get a Legion's End right about now. Boy, this sucks. I think we just play a Regisaur and start discarding our hand, honestly. Because this shock is kind of garbage. The Bedevils are really bad against Thorn Lieutenant, although I assume they'll have creatures that will want to Bedevil eventually. Alright, here's our 7/6. What do you got? If they have a trick to kill this thing, I feel kind of okay about that. Okay, so they're effectively using this to get in 2 damage. That seems like a very weak use of a God's Willing to me. And also, what is this deck? Is this Naya Feather with Thorn Lieutenant main deck? Like, lots of main deck Thorn... Jeez. Yeah, this looks like Feather. I'm not familiar with that deck running Thorn Lieutenants. I was expecting like a Naya Zoo type thing. So that was just to get in 3 damage, and they spent, I mean, a cantrip, but then also a I think I get rid of this. I'm probably dropping Moon next turn, depending on what we draw here. That might have been wrong because I can Rotting Regisaur and Shock, but I don't think the Shock is doing anything. I mean, there's only 1 card in their deck that it kills, and that's a card that gets pumped by any spell that targets, so... Alright, we're discarding 2 cards next turn. I think that with what we're seeing, this is our way into this game. If they do a thing like attack, we block, they Reckless Rage, 3rd Thorn Lieutenant... Where are Legion's Ends? We want our Legion's Ends! Alright, let's discard a Bedevil and a Dragon Skull Summit. How's that sound? Okay, we're going to play 2 of these cards this turn. So it'll be this one and Moo. They're kind of priced into block in here, although they could have more protection or indestructibility. But our life total isn't under threat, so I mean, it's being pressured at this point, but not in a way that I feel like... Oh, they're going to triple up? Yeah, I'll take that. That'll stop us from... You know, I think I'll just do this, actually. This will mean we discard Moo, but it will also mean that our guy survives, and they just have a 1/1 left over. Oh, do they have the protection up? That'd be a feel bad. Oh, they do not. Okay. Okay, so our guy survives. Their 3 guys turn into a 1/1 that can't be pumped for +4/+4. We discard Moo. Feels bad, but we have 2 lethal threats on board, and presently they have a 1/1. Okay, so there's a second blocker. If they have protection spells, that's great for them, because they'll be able to play it every turn, effectively. Knight of the Ebon Legion's nice. It's another must-block threat for them, and we can play it and pump it. If they've got a double block, they could have a protection spell that will be live literally every turn for the rest of the game. Okay, Defiant Strike, that's not God's willing, and they're out of mana now, so we'll do this. We have pumps. Knight of the Ebon Legion is not lethal this turn, unless we top deck a land. But if we do, then we have 3 lethal threats. Okay, we got there. Ooh, boy. So that was a really weird... That was probably the weirdest feather match I've ever played. Like, how many feather matches are decided by they triple block your Rotting Regisar with their Thorn Lieutenants, and then you bedevil them to blow them out like that. I think that line has never been recreated in Magic in the however many billions of games that have been played. Until now. You witness it here, world first. This is a world first. Alright. Probably do 1 or 2 more games here. I have no early work meetings tomorrow morning, so I can stay up a little past my bedtime. What is up with all of these mono checkland hands? I swear we have shocklands in here somewhere. We also have no black in this hand, so this is complete... What? This is the same hand, but with a war boss instead of a Moo. We go to 5. Okay, at least this hand kind of does some things. I guess we put back 1 knight and Chandra have at least a threat, a discard, and a spot removal. Excuse me. Llanowar Elves. Are we just lava coiling their elves? No, we're gonna Thought Erasure. And then if they play a thing, we can probably lava coil that and play Knight of the Ebon Legion and be totally... Oy, oy. Well, we're taking the Nissa, that's for sure. I love the shock, because then we have removal for 2 of their 4 creatures, 2 of which are mana dorks that I don't really care that much about. So this guy becomes a 2/2, but then dies. So, you know, that's alright. I was actually hoping they would cast the Branch Walker there so we could kill those 2. But, so as it is, I think we actually play Knight, Shock Pelt Collector. Or do we shock the Elf? I feel like with the Lava Coil in hand, I would rather... And most of their hand, no. Now they have 2 unknown cards, and those cards are probably Vivian's, and... Okay, well, that worked out well. I'm not even going to offer the trade here, because I don't want to sacrifice Knight of the Ebon Legion into Paradise Druid, and if they block, I'll have to do that or lose him, and I really want to get rid of this Beast Whisperer. That card is way too good to leave on the table. Turns literally every creature in the deck into a cantrip, and the deck is almost entirely creatures. Alright, so we're pretty much both played out. If we get a blue land, we can start plussing Moo. Otherwise, I guess we can pump Knight. They get to get rid of a guy there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't take that trade. Well, that feels really bad. I think we have to hold back just to hold off their aggression. We mulliganed twice, so now even though they've drawn more lands than us, we are sitting here at a serious disadvantage. Is it even good to play Moo and plus her? Because that turns off Knight of the Ebon Legion pump, it shocks us. this guy becomes like a 0/2. They have 1/2, so we can trade. Yeah, playing Moo is really weak here. We had to get her out earlier, or just not mulligan to 5. Well, opponent is okay. Sick of waiting. Oh no, okay. I really wish they would have gone in there. That'd have been great for us. Does Legion War Boss do anything? No. Not really. Need Ritual of Soot. That is the answer. Come on, attack. I mean, the side of the Ebon Legion's doing work. Okay, so at this point, we could at least shock in Thought Erasure and still be able to pump and just try to scry away whatever's at the top of our deck if it's bad. Which, honestly, I think I'm doing that. I think that's what we're doing. And I mean, they do have a card in hand at this point. Oh, and it was a relevant card. That's a good one. I wonder why they didn't play that Crawl Harpooner. Were they waiting for us to play a flyer? Because it's target creature with flying, yeah. Oh, jeez. Well, looks like Bolus was a turn too late. Well, I mean, we wouldn't have been able to make him discard that anyways, but... Oh, and also, if we would have made them discard that, they would have put it into play. That's a gotcha. Okay, so we play our 4/4. Maybe in a couple of turns we can flip it. So they can get in with their Ferox and deal 6, which does hurt. But after that, we have 2 things that can wall their side now, although they have this Pelt Collector that's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. No blocks here because we need both of these things to stop their side from being able to get in. That is going to do it. Chandra, go! Lava Coil, there, Pelt Collector. Woo! Feels great. Feels so great right now, getting Carnage Tyranted. Considering that this is a deck that we were just talking about how bad we are against, I mean, mulligan to 5, the fact that we were able to hold them off with this Knight of the Ebon Legion for as long as we were was pretty cool. I count that as a moral victory. What is up with these super slow, can't cast anything in your hands we've been getting, though? I will say that it feels like we have a pretty good balance of burn, hard removal, discard, and threats in the deck the way it's tuned right now in this version. It seems like we... Obviously, in any deck that is part removal, part creatures, you're always going to have wrong half problems, or you need removal and draw just, you know, like this, where we have nothing but removal spells and have no idea what our opponent's playing. You know what? I'm keeping this. I'm not doing this mulligan to 6 and you have a terrible hand and then you mulligan again. Well, that makes us feel really good. One of those few times when there's actually a little upside to being on the draw. But yeah, so with this version, it seems like we got a pretty good balance. Ooh, this lines up very nicely for us. I'm gonna play this one, so they don't know we have blue. Just gonna Lava Coil right now where they have no protection. Come on. Get it for 1. Bonk. Love his planes. I love that Nils Ham has a planes. I don't know if he's done other art, but it's like he does such sort of like grotesque body horror looking stuff most of the time that just Nils Ham planes with this like beautiful sunset just being all majestic. It just fills my heart with joy. I would love to be able to Chandra here, but I don't think we can let Legion Warboss stay on the table, especially because they're probably playing This seems like Boros Feather with some extra stuff. And they still don't know we have blue, interestingly. And yeah, I feel like if we let them untap and potentially have protection, then we're just... it's way too easy for them to blow us out. Although I guess we should have technically put a stop here. Oh, jeez. Well, fine. How about this opponent? We'll just put down a Catacomb, make sure that it doesn't tap us like that.
Anyone need a match? No.
Shock. War Boss. Pretty sure I hold back Knight here. That keeps them from being able to just kill our Chandra for free with what they have on board. They'll have to spend additional cards for it. Okay, here's the Feather with protection up. So we get to eat this guy. Oh, are they going to spend a card on this? Oh my god, nice. So now we get to kill their Feather. So this Chandra... I mean, that card can trip, sure. Oh, they hit the wrong one. They left our Chandra behind because they hit the wrong one. Okay. So now we can Bedevil Feather. I don't think there's a reason to do Bedevil versus Obnixilus's Cruelty here, so I'll use the one that is more color intensive. And then we get to bring Chandra back up. I think that the 2 damage is irrelevant here.
Find your fires of passion within.
Oh wait, no, we were blocking with Knight of the Ebon Legion there. Okay, so they actually killed our Knight. I didn't realize that they were actually killing our card there, but that's also fine. Oh, and there's a reason not to have Obnixilus's them. Oh, and then of course they got the Defiant Strike back. Okay, that was actually a really cool line for them. But, because the Feather being able to rebuy that was great. But still got a ton of value there. I'm going to play this out so that we don't have to shock it in if we want to do something later. And we're just going to do this here when they have when they have one less chance of drawing protection. Nice. And that's one of the main reasons that I have Obnixilus's Cruelty in this deck, is just being able to... Oh, and they have another Feather, of course. Yeah, this is why I always play as if they have infinite Feathers if they ever run one out without protection for it. Because they do, obviously. So at this point, I'm pretty sure we get ground out. We have hit an awful lot of lands here, that's for sure. And we actually lined up pretty well with them, even being on the draw, which is almost never the case. They have another Defiant Strike. Okay, so now they draw all the cards. I mean, they can only do this once per turn, unless they have 2 of them, of course. But, yeah, they can draw all the cards, and they get these back. Card for battle, which they'll get back. They'll Defiant Strike, so they're hitting us for 8 here, so we're on a 2-turn clock. I mean, I guess I shock this guy to make it a 3-turn clock, right? Alright, we'll play it out, you know. Sheltering Light, so now they have infinite protection spells as well, and you can see why Feather is a very polarizing matchup. Infinite protection, infinite card draw, and card advantage creatures, and evasive and hasty creatures. Hasty creatures, creatures that protect themselves and they're targeted, really good spot removal, all that stuff. But we got the God's Willing out of their hand. Yep. It seemed like I was seeing mostly Naya Feather for the first month or so of M20. Although it seems like it's swung more back to Boros. Naya largely being there for the Season of Growth as an additional, basically as an extra feather. It doesn't recur the cards, but it does give you the cantrips whenever you target your guys, so it's easier to get through your deck. And I felt like that was a really nice include, and you also get cool things like Collision Colossus and the other one, Domri's Ambush, off of that. But it always felt like the hit to the consistency of the deck by just drawing the wrong lands and having to shock yourself more was a bit of an issue. Alright, we don't want more non-black lands, please. Well, that was the easiest match of Magic I have played in a long time. I imagine that was like a, you know, my husband just got home from work and I want to say hi to him, or the cat caught on fire or something like that. I don't imagine that was a, you know, can't beat Moo Yanling sleeve into untapped Steam vents. Oh, interesting note about this. Shift plus control. In my experience, that doesn't work. You have to hit control and then shift while you're holding down control. It took me a while to figure that out because there's this tip, and also people on Twitch were saying hit shift control, but yeah, in my experience, that has not been how it works. The difference there being that if you do the shift and control instead of just normal control, it doesn't start passing priority after every phase, or every, I don't know if it's every, I think it's every step, not every phase. The steps being like, you know, declare attacker's step, declare blocker's step versus the combat phase. We don't have any 2-drops we can play at instant speed here. Just gonna put this in tapped. Technically I should have attacked first to withhold information, but the odds of that being relevant are virtually 0. Okay, we got a nice little explore thing going on here. I think I like playing Legion Warboss here. A naked Merfolk Branchwalker with no Wild Growth Walker synergy is, and it's a vanilla 3-2 at this point, basically. So I don't feel like that is what we want to spend one of our 2 removal spells on. If we'd already spent a shock, and we could, like, next turn self-follows Chandra minus shock, that would be great. But as it is, I think we want to... Are they going to Rabid Bite us or something? Oh man, I love these Rebecca Gay Arena lands. So nice. We will let that go. Ooh, Steel Leaf Champion. Very nice. Well, I guess we'll get in for 5. Which puts us in the driver's seat, I believe, for now. I think it's Lava Coil here. They have larger creatures than this. I definitely thought that I cast the wrong spell there for a second, so glad that that was not the case. I think we're going to buff this guy so that we spread our power out amongst creatures, because this deck does often run fight effects and things like that. Although I guess we would go out of range of Branchwalker. Okay, this is really good for us because we have 3 red, so we can go Chandra minus Lava Coil, this guy, and I think I actually hold back here, other than this guy, obviously, because I don't want to trade here. I don't want to trade here. If I go in here, I get 2 damage in, effectively, if they eat this guy, but then our Chandra probably dies. So I'm just going to hold back. I'll have a 2/2 token to block their Merfolk Branchwalker with, and this is where it would have actually been good to have this guy be a 3/4, so that it could block there, but I didn't think that this is the line that I was taking, so it didn't cross my mind. It might have been right to play towards that anyways, just knowing that because of the fight effects in their deck. But, I mean, the odds that this is the biggest threat they get out are pretty low, so I think that having this spread out more evenly is a good choice. Well, we have a Bedevil with your name on it. We also have a shock with your name on it, and then a swing for a bunch of damage. So let's do that. I should have made sure I wasn't being tapped off of red, but I wasn't, thankfully. I could pump Knight of the Ebon Legion if I don't shock here. But I think I vastly prefer getting rid of this guy. I'm actually going to plus Chandra this turn because we're going to want to rebuy that Bedevil, I imagine. Well, not plus, but you know, the effective plus. Getting for a bunch of damage. Alright, we have him dead on board, and we have a Chandra that can flash back a spell here while remaining on board, so that feels pretty good. Alright. Got there that time. Opponent had a much clunkier start there, and importantly, they didn't have any of the planeswalkers that really just outbig us, outspeed us, outgrind us, all those things. And, you know, the cards that we had in our hand just lined up perfectly with what they had. You know, having exactly what we needed when we needed it, and then being able to flash it back, like, cast a card, next turn, Chandra, immediately flash that card back with the Legion Warboss on the board. And that's the power of Legion Warboss that you saw there. When we can keep the board under control, and the opponent is light on removal, or the removal is heavily taxed, we can usually just beat them with that card. And at the very worst, we usually get in for a few damage and then have some beefy blockers to hold back to protect a Planeswalker or something like that, like you just saw there. And actually, often, I've had a fair number of situations where there's something like a Bishop of Wings on the table, and they chump block the token because it seems like it should be free, and we don't swing with anything else. It's just that one token going in, and then we can kill their guy with a burn spell, which is always really nice. Alright, so we have Knight into Thought Erasure, assuming we don't get it Thought Erasure first, which seems very likely because they let on Swamp. But at least we'll have a guy out. Into Legion Warboss. Oh, double Swamp. Okay, so mono black deck. So last time we fought this, we did so not realizing that this deck has board wipes in it, and I thought that it looked like it was some kind of artifact-themed deck. And this time we will try to play around that misplay. Ritual of Soot. I think I love getting rid of that. They have one creature in hand. We have one removal spell for it. But I think I keep this on top because we have plenty of land, and we have 3 threats with them only having 1 cast down. And that's one of the great things in these mid-range decks where you can sort of sculpt a slightly longer-term game plan. Being able to get information on your opponent's hand is just great in those situations. Alright, there's the cast down. That's fine because now we get to Legion Warboss. Oh, although... well, they can't next turn, though. They can't kill our Legion Warboss this coming turn with Dread Presence, because they'd have to play a land to play the Dread Presence, and then they cannot also play another land to kill our Warboss. Alright, there's the Scry. I'm sad to see Treasure Map rotate. I imagine it's not getting reprinted. Bag of Holding seems like a vastly inferior substitute to me. Or substitution, I guess, is the... Ooh, that was a nice draw for them. Because now we can't pump our Knight on this turn. I'm pretty sure we do this, this. I'll be sad to see that one go. It's just really nice to have a colorless card like this that does give card advantage, but over the long term and is more about fixing for most of the game, and then like a little bit of ramp built in there. It's just really nice to have that so that any deck that lacks those things that really needs them can do it, even though it's less efficient than doing it in most any other color. Okay, well I don't really care about this guy. I will exile this Steam Vents, because we already have 4 lands and cards that we want to play, and we, with that land, even can't, like, pump Knight and cast a removal spell. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not spending this removal spell on Fenlurker. I'll honestly just offer the trade. playing under the assumption that they either have a swamp in hand or that they are... They can't pump this guy, right? Yeah, it costs 3. Okay, so they just chump. Doesn't have Death Touch or anything, does it? No, okay. I mean, they could have a thing that'll deal a damage or whatever. Scry to top. So that means they probably have land here. If they play this guy and then play a land, we will not kill in response, because I imagine they will hit Knight of the Ebon Legion. I might actually just draw the card and see that we have the... Oh yeah, okay, they're just going to draw a card. So in that case, before they draw the card, we will... See, I don't know what threats this deck generally runs. I think it has Cavalier of Night, but Obnix... So, okay, so we want to Bedevil because I think it has Cavalier of Night, and the Exile clause on Obnixilus's Cruelty seems good there. It might actually be right to get rid of the treasure map. Yeah, that was probably actually better, wasn't it? Probably better to get rid of the treasure map, because... Oh no, but we can't, because they can flip it in response. Actually, I guess... No, we could have done it in response to their activating. Because of how those triggers work. Okay, if they have a Disfigure here, our life is in shambles. Okay, we dodged it. Yeah, so we really should have taken them off of all this card drop by they activate and then they still get the Scry, but they don't get the Transform because it is in the... I still don't think they do. If it's in the graveyard when it would transform, I'm pretty sure they don't get to get the Transform off. But I could be wrong about that. Okay, this lines up nicely because we can exile their Midnight Reaper so they don't get the draw, and then we get in for some damage. No reason to shock here. I don't think holding up Ob's Cruelty is the right choice here. I just want to have them dead next turn, if possible. They do get another redraw here, so they have effectively 2 more draws to try to stabilize. This looks like Ritual of Sit. Oh, it's Dread Presence. Okay. So that gives them a redraw. Oh, actually, it gains them life and kills our token. Yeah, I forgot about the life gain part of that. That's really good. Okay, so they get another redraw. So we can only pump once. We could Thought Erasure them. I think I like Thought Erasure into... Because if we can pump twice, but then they can block, they can chump. So I think I like Thought Erasure. Actually, no. I like attack, make them block. Yep. So you don't have to spend a card on that guy. Now we Thought Erasure. That, if we win the game, that's probably why, is because we had that Thought Erasure there. Well, Cast Down is a fantastic draw for them. That keeps them alive. They also have 1 more draw of Treasure Cove. So yeah, we definitely should have blown this up and left the... I wasn't thinking about that element. Okay, I'm pretty sure I let this guy stay here. They have much bigger threats than that. We're not going to be... Oh, oops. Yeah, I forgot about that part. Ha. That felt pretty bad. I was sitting here thinking about how I don't think this guy's worth removing, not realizing that it was exiling the only card I had in my hand. Yep. Okay, they pretty much got this now. I think we gave them those 3 extra draws that we shouldn't have, and then we neglected to actually remove this guy when we could. And it can grow up to the point where it will kill our Legion Warboss easily. Well, question though is, can it kill a Rotting Registrar? And I'm going to guess that the answer is no, it can't. They have infinite pumps on this guy at this point. They generate 8 mana off of this and then have... Yeah, so they have 14 mana. They can almost just threaten lethal off of their Fenlurker here. Yeah, boy, that was a huge punt on my part. I am displeased at my having done that. And at giving those extra 3 draws. Well, they bricked. I mean, it's more pumps for Fenlurker. So they have... This costs 1, 2, 3, so then they have 7 more. So that generates 16. So they can pump it. I don't think they can actually pump this enough to kill the Regisar. And if they let the token and the Regisar through, they die. I did not actually do the math entirely here. It could be that they have just enough. Or thereabouts. Okay, yeah, they got it to 6. I thought they could only get it to 5, but at least they can't get it to the point where... so we would have just won there if we would have not completely thrown the game. So, chalk 1 up for... Yep, there's Cavalier of Night, as expected. Chalk 1 up for being... Oh, and it has lifelink. That is so bad for us. Because they're going to gain... So again, running this token into their lifelinker... bad news. Because we could have killed them here if they weren't getting that 4 life. Oops, I actually meant to go in with everyone, so that hopefully they would kill our Legion War Boss. And then we wouldn't be giving them 4 life every turn. But I guess our out is to leave this guy on the board, get something that can kill that guy. Yeah, they're just going to sit on this and gain infinite life. Okay, I'm going to see what I draw off the top here, and then if it's not something that will win us the game, I'll just give it to them. We definitely deserve the L here. That will not do it. Alright, I'll just give them the good game. Definitely had that one and just completely threw it away because I was talking and not paying super close attention to what was going on around me, which is one of the hazards of streaming. Saffron Olive on MTG Goldfish was doing a stream months back where someone asked him if he felt like streamers were unfairly advantaged because they have chat helping them out, you know, telling them, oh, you should make this play, or you have this line there, and he's like, okay, we do gain a few percentage points because of like chat helping us out like that, but you have no idea how many points we lose based on trying to hold a conversation while we're playing Magic and how difficult that is. And that's very much true. Those same... I don't know if it's the same parts of your brain that are responsible for talking as playing Magic, but there is definitely some, I guess, like, bandwidth issues going on there. I'm going to enter this tapped. We have no turn 2 draw, or no 2-turn play. So the only way that we feel bad about this is if opponent has something that we want to shock, and then we draw another thing that we want to play immediately. So we're halfway there. Nope, okay, so no punish. That's nice. We'll play this one. I thought I hit no there, but I must have been totally wrong because I got shocked. Well, so much for preserving our life total there. Looks like we're probably on mono green again. Oh, nope, okay. Overgrown Tomb is not mono green. So I guess we'll run out the War Boss, see what happens. Bonk. I love how innocuous Legion War Boss starts out. Like, just, you know, just a damage. Oh! It's Rotting Regisar's best friend, Rotting Regisar. I'm about to make them a little sad here, I think. Gonna hold the boluses. Or I guess I could play a bolus, chump their Regisar, make them discard a card, make them discard another card. I actually really like this line. We have a chump blocker for if they... So we have a chump blocker here. So I really like having this guy to block, having the bolus down. If they kill the bolus, we have another bolus. And then we also have Bedevil to kill Regisar next turn, probably in response to their having to discard a card. So they discarded a Swamp there. Ooh, they discard Voracious Hydra. Okay, so what are they holding? Well, it could be that they just don't have enough mana to make that worthwhile, but... Ooh, if you have an Arcbow Ranger, that's a good one. That's going to give this thing Trample, so they just hit us for 9 here. Or it could fight. Oh, fight the Bolas, fight the Bolas. Yes! Thank you. Okay, now attack. Attack, make us chump block. Make us chump block. Yes. I guess it didn't really matter, because we're going to have 2 tokens that can attack this turn anyway, one of which has to attack this turn. So we will go to combat. Make a token. Send you here. You here. Kill Vivian.
Time to disappear into the brush.
I think that because we don't have a chump blocker here, I go to their upkeep, wait for the discard trigger. They get onto 1 card, drop to 2. Before they actually get the card, we're going to kill this guy. We still have another Nicol Bolas. If they can play both of these cards here, that feels kind of bad for us. Okay, they can do it. But that's fine. We're just going to kill this guy and then swing for a bunch. And also play a Knight of the Ebon Legion, which will get pumped. I should have checked that that wasn't going to take us off of our colors. Yep, there we go. So, that's a tough one. So our opponent played that Rotting Regisar because they had nothing else on board. And probably, I mean, I imagine they top decked that Spawn of Mayhem on the last turn there, or the turn before it. So the fact they had to discard all those cards was really awkward, but I can see why they did it, because they needed a creature on board to block for Vivian and for her to basically do anything. And then, so to do that, they had to put down the Regisar. The Regisar discarding made them, just made them fall way behind on cards. And then when we had the removal spell there, yeah, their inability to... I mean, really, I guess the big problem there is they attacked with their Regisar. If they were going to do that, they probably would have wanted to give it Trample or something. But anyway, so my point is that while that didn't work out well for them, Regisar plus Vivian is actually really cool, because the biggest problem, as we've seen before in some of our games with Regisar, is that it gets chump blocked so easily. And while it's getting chump blocked, it's eating through your hand. So with Vivian... Is it Vivian Arcbow Ranger? Obviously not in these colors. Yeah, with Vivian Arcbow Ranger, you can make it a 9/8 trample with her plus ability, which basically negates all of... Well, it doesn't negate all the problems, because you still have to discard cards, but it does just increase the clock to the extent that, or to the point that your opponent's pretty much, it's just so much more threatening that way. So, anyway, that was our 2 Black-Red X aggro decks for today. Did the Rakdos Beats and the Shadow of Bolas. I feel like there's probably more consistency to the Rakdos Beats deck, just in terms of what it's doing. But because of these Dreadhorde Butchers and Gutterbones being okay but not great, and, you know, the Spawn of Mayhem, having the 3 Spawn of Mayhem here, you know, and just not having discard, it feels like it's more limited in terms of what it can do, and its individual pieces don't feel quite as strong to me. That said, the more consistent mana base, the less painful mana base, that's actually a really big thing in, you know, when there's lots of aggro out there. I think that Vampires and Red Deck Wins are currently the number 1 and 2 decks, or at least are very close. I think that there's a Feel of the Dead or some kind of ramp deck that's also up there, might be between them, or depending on whose stats you're looking at. But anyway, but yeah, so the less painful mana base and the easier colors, because I mean, you know, we got the double red. Chandra's often triple red. We have double black, red black, and we saw even with this mana base and these colors that we were having trouble playing the cards that we wanted to, not because we didn't have the mana, but because we didn't have the right colors. So the Rakdos Beats definitely has that going for it, but I've got to say, I just love these Grixis Beatdown decks. They are so much fun to play, and it does feel kind of like playing Grixis Death Shadow in Modern. Obviously a much less powerful version, but, you know, everyone is here. Death Shadow is here, Gurmag Angler is here, Snapcaster Mage is here, Thoughtseize is here, Fatal Push for Legion's End, which, I mean, I would definitely trade Fatal Pushes for my removal here, but yeah, it's like everything sort of just lines up, you know? It feels like the cards that we have here are pulling those same lines, and I really love that deck. It's so much fun to play. And we can play this version of it without having to put ourselves to like 7 life for our cards to do anything, so we got that too. I'd say that all of these cards that we've played a lot before, with the exceptions of Nicol Bolas and Mu Yanling. As I said before, the Nicol Bolas didn't work well in the super aggro versions of this deck, but in the slower, more mid-range version, I mean, very low to the ground mid-range, but still mid-range, I would say. This card has been great. We're more attrition-y, so the discard is more likely to be relevant, because our opponent is probably kind of running on fumes, instead of the being more constrained on what have they been able to play. Like, have they been able to play their cards fast enough? This is more, have they been able to play enough cards? Do they have enough cards to answer what we're doing? Whereas the other one is, can they squeeze them out in a timely manner, where the discard doesn't really matter that much. I think that the 3 Rotting Regisaur we saw perform really well. That seemed like a great number. We did have a few, like we had that game where we had double Rotting Regisaur in play, and we're like, okay, we're just dropping our entire hand, what do you have, opponent? And that worked really well for us. It need not have worked very well, and we had to discard some really good cards. I think we tossed up a Devil and a Mu Yanling and some lands, but the Legion Warboss, I think we saw that work out really well. And then Mu, we only got to see a few times, but boy, has she ever performed better than I expected here. I went back and forth on her, especially because of the double color weight, which is tough, but I guess a little bit less so in this deck than the you always want to play your threats on curve every time versions of the deck. So I think that maybe this deck, I don't think this deck wants Opt, but maybe that could help running a couple or something like that, just to draw you into the right cards, especially because this version is less velocity oriented, so it can afford to take a little bit of time off. But it also wants to be spending its mana, instead of other decks where we want to be spending our mana every turn deploying threats, we're just as likely to be wanting to spend our mana every turn resolving removal. So it still seems hard to cast too many opts there. And I didn't feel like we had too much of a wrong half of the deck problem here. What's our total number? 13 creature, 5, so 18 threats effectively. This is actually not 20, it's 18. Bedeck Bedazzle counts as an instant twice because it checks both halves of the card, so this is actually 62 if you count it up, I believe. 5, 10, yeah, that's 62. So, yeah, so basically 20 removal cards and then Chandra rebuying them, things like that. So we're like 20-20, or like we're 50-50 pretty much for our non-land cards for threats and answers. And then obviously Nicol Bolas can become an answer if you get up to 7 lands, and he can just, you know, kill anything, recur anything, draw you a ton of cards. Cool stuff like that. Slightly higher on the curve here. If we were to, let's just take these out and put a Lightning Strike for a second. I was counting earlier, I think there are 5 cards with the word Lightning in Standard, and all of them are, or with the word Strike in Standard, and all of them are red. So our actual curve is average of 2.4, because we're almost always casting the Bedeck side of Bedeck Bedazzle. So a little higher on the curve, but not by that much, actually. Pretty much the Bolus is the only thing that's higher on the curve than the other decks, because, you know, Spawn is often coming in for 3. So we're still pretty low to the ground here. We're spitting out a couple cards per turn by turn 3 or 4 pretty regularly, which is important when you have Regisaur. And then we have some nice sideboard tech against the, you know, the Esper deck, or Grixis mirrors. Some good... the Cry of the Carnarium may not be great now that we have Legion Warboss in here. This might be bad. But it misses Knight of the Ebon Legion, it misses your Planeswalkers, Regisaur, and Bolus. So it seems pretty good. Ritual of Soot kills almost everything in our deck. Bolus is the only thing that survives it, and the Planeswalkers, so I only have one of those in there. God Eternals, I think that could be great for dealing with the red deck some more, and we saw us do pretty well against the red deck here. I don't know about this Chandra, but she's really cool, and she is both a board wipe and spot removal and a clock all in one package that always resolves. So seems like we could do worse. It might be better to have that as a God Pharaoh, but I don't know. I'll do some sideboard games in the near future and see how it feels. Maybe we'll do them together now that we have these decks kind of honed in on where we want to be. And I actually submitted this deck to Todd Stevens. He's going to be doing it tomorrow. That'll be August 30th in the evening. He's East Coast time, I believe, so US East Coast, whenever evening would be for you. Should be his last deck of the day. I actually submitted a different one, but I'm going to go in and retool it now to this one because this is the one that I feel the best about. So if you want to see someone else playing this deck or a similar one, because I said that he's free to tool around with it, look at the threats, the answers, things like that, tune into that stream, and I'll be in the chat there. My handle is The Wake in chat with no @ symbol in the name because you can't do that. But yeah, drop by, say hi, see how it looks, see how a actual professional Magic player who doesn't do things like let their opponent discard or exile their only removal spell that they have instead of casting it, how it looks in the hands of a player like that. So anyway, thank you again for stopping by. This has been Ben. This has been Ben with the Tiger's Den. I've never struggled as much to say that in my life. We've always got more video game content coming every couple of days. We have at least, I think I've been doing at least 3 streams a week of Magic the Gathering Arena, looking to do more as time permits. Probably nothing over the weekend because I'm going to be demoing the board game that we currently have on Kickstarter with some friends. But yeah, next week we'll have more stuff coming at you. Maybe actually a stream tomorrow as well, as long as it doesn't overlap with Todd piloting my deck. And yeah, we got Fire Emblem, we've got, there's Borderlands coming out, all that cool stuff. Lots of really cool games on the horizon that we want to look at covering, so stay tuned for that. If you want to see more, give us a subscribe, click the bell for notifications, give us a thumbs up, comment if you liked it, thumbs down, comment if you didn't. Let us know what we could improve, how the levels are sounding, how the camera looks, if it's triggering you that my slightly green shirt is getting slightly fuzzy because of the green screen behind me, anything like that. So we love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Ben with the Tiger's Den, signing out, and I'll see you next time.